Exactly. But it always starts with like a really tiny, seemingly insignificant inconvenience. And you think to yourself, a digital app just instantly refunding you for a missing grocery item.
Right.
That is supposed to be the absolute peak of modern convenience. Right?
I think so, yeah.
So why is it that cognitive psychology suggests that like an automatic refund is actually the exact thing that triggers our deepest, most primal frustrations?
Well, I mean, it creates this fascinating dissonance, because we have built these incredible technological safety nets, right?
Yeah.
They're designed to catch every single error.
Yeah.
But they're entirely disconnected from the actual physical reality of being a human being.
And that tension right there, that is the anchor for our deep dive today. Welcome in, everyone. We are looking at this just brilliant breakdown from a YouTube channel. They were analyzing the diary-like entries of a writer known online as Plant Sister Mary.
Such a great source.
It really is. And the mission for this deep dive is to explore how a completely ordinary American grocery mishap unexpectedly reveals profound truths about the human mind.
Right, how our brains process failure.
Exactly. The hidden science behind our coping mechanisms. And this is where it gets really interesting, how this chaotic American kitchen actually mirrors cultural philosophies on the exact opposite side of the world.
Specifically in Thailand.
Yes. So we're going to get into all of that, but it really is a remarkable case study, isn't it?
Oh, completely. It's a masterclass in emotional resilience.
Yeah.
Because on the surface, right, we are analyzing a woman who is just trying to make dinner.
Right, just a simple dinner.
But beneath that, the source material exposes the fragility of the convenience economy and how the human brain adapts when that convenience just suddenly evaporates.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's look at Mary's initial setup. So she is having a really simple dinner, coleslaw, and a grilled cheese sandwich.
Sounds great.
Classic, right? So doing what any of us do in 2026, she pulls out her phone, she opens the Walmart app, and she orders 16 items for delivery.
As you do.
Right. The bags arrive, she unpacks the shredded cabbage, she's totally ready to cook. But the store completely forgot the most crucial ingredient.
Oh, no.
Yeah. They left out the coleslaw dressing.
Which, I mean, that just reduces her planned meal to a bowl of dry, shredded cabbage.
Literally just dry leaves.
The culinary vision is instantly destroyed.
Completely. But of course, the modern world immediately steps in to fix it. Walmart's digital ledger recognizes the error, and it automatically issues a refund for the missing dressing.
Instantaneously.
Right, instantly. No calling customer service, no waiting on hold for 20 minutes. The transaction is perfectly balanced, yet Mary writes in her diary that she is absolutely furious.
Like raging.
Yes. Her money is back in her account, but she is so incredibly frustrated. Why?
Well, because, as Mary so brilliantly observes in her diary, she writes, "A refund can't make coleslaw."
Oh, that is so good.
Right. That single sentence highlights a massive blind spot in the way we have engineered our modern lives. Because to the store's algorithm, a missed item is just a math problem.
It's just numbers.
Exactly. It's a numerical discrepancy on a server that is effortlessly solved by returning, $3.50.
Equation balanced. Case closed.
Exactly. But human hunger, like actual physical hunger, does not exist on a digital ledger. The algorithm thinks it solved the problem. But the physical, biological reality of that missing flavor, it remains entirely unresolved.
That is so true. And the source material draws this fantastic cross-cultural parallel here, just to show how universal this algorithm blind spot really is.
Right, Thailand connection.
Yeah, it takes us straight from an American kitchen to everyday lifestyle in Thailand. So imagine you are prepping to make a spicy somtam.
Oh, the traditional green papaya salad.
Yes. You've painstakingly prepared the shredded papaya, the fish sauce, the lime, the long beans. You use a local delivery app to grab those final fresh ingredients. The driver arrives, but they forgot the fresh chili peppers.
Oh, wow. Which is the foundational heat that gives the entire dish its identity.
Exactly. You can't have somtam without chilies. And the app might immediately pin your phone with like an automated apology and a 10-baht refund.
Right.
But that 10-baht refund is deeply insulting when you are standing at your kitchen counter, literally craving that specific fiery heat.
It doesn't help at all.
No. It's a stark reminder that even though the ingredients and the landscapes between the two hemispheres are totally different, the psychological disappointment is identical. A digital system just cannot comprehend the emotional expectation of a meal.
The safety net caught the currency, but it let the human experience slip right through the cracks.
Man, that is well put. So this forces Mary to abandon the digital world entirely. The app failed her emotionally, right? So
Yeah.
that forces a physical solution.
Plan B.
Plan B. She manages to get a friend to drive her to the local Walmart. Her entire mission, her absolute singular purpose for leaving her house is to buy that one bottle of coleslaw dressing. She walks into the massive supermarket and she gets completely distracted.
Of course.
She buys allergy medicine. She picks out new pillowcases. She grabs like some cleaning supplies and she goes all the way home having completely forgotten the dressing.
The environment just completely swallowed her original intention.
Okay, I have to push back on her reaction here though. If you inconvenience a friend to drive you to a massive store for one specific item and you forget it,
Yeah.
that feels less like an environmental trap and more like simple negligence. I mean, was she just not paying attention? How do you lose track of your only objective?
Well, what's fascinating here is that cognitive psychology actually completely exonerates her.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it comes down to the severe mechanical limits of how working memory operates. So working memory is essentially the brain's RAM. It holds information for like immediate processing.
Okay.
But the average human brain can only hold about 4 to 7 pieces of information at once in that active space.
So she walks through the automatic doors with coleslaw dressing, taking up one of those slots.
Exactly. But modern retail architecture is heavily weaponized against that limited capacity. I mean, supermarkets are engineered to be visually and psychologically overwhelming.
Right, the bright colors, the music.
Yeah, they flood your sensory inputs. So she walks past a bright end cap display for a sale. Boom, that is a new data point. She sees the pharmacy and suddenly remembers her seasonal allergies.
Oh, wow.
That's another massive data packet demanding immediate attention. She starts calculating the thread count and the color of those pillowcases.
So the brain's RAM just completely overflows.
It literally overwrites the old data. All of this incoming sensory information aggressively hijacks her working memory. So the concept of coleslaw dressing isn't just misplaced, it is forcefully evicted from her short-term recall to make room for the pillowcases.
That is wild.
The physical environment successfully hacked her biological bandwidth.
It is the ultimate betrayal by your own mind. It's like when you walk into a room, read a piece of mail, and suddenly have absolutely no idea why you entered the room in the first place.
Exactly the same mechanism.
And the way she handles this defeat is incredible. She gets home, she realizes her brain was completely tricked by the supermarket, and she writes down the acronym HMAC.
Right, HMAC.
Which means she is physically smacking her forehead.
Yeah.
And the source dives into why physical contact with our own face is like the universal response to a foolish mistake.
Yeah, it actually serves a highly specific neurobiological function.
Really? Smacking your head.
Yeah, because when you face a sudden, severe rush of frustration with your own cognition, your body generates this uncomfortable spike of pent-up energy.
Okay.
So the physical sting of the slap serves as a localized sensory interrupt. It is a physical shock designed to snap the brain out of that spiral of regret and just force your consciousness back into the present moment.
It is literally the human equivalent of turning it off and turning it back on again.
That is exactly what it is.
That is so funny. And right after the forehead slap, she deploys this specific linguistic coping mechanism. She writes, "You can't make this stuff up," which is really her way of consciously surrendering to the chaos. She is acknowledging that real life is just way messier and more absurd than fiction.
Framing her disaster as a comedy.
Yes. It allows her to step back and be the audience to her own life rather than, the victim of it.
Which requires a massive amount of cognitive flexibility, honestly, to pivot from anger to amusement in a matter of seconds.
And she needs that flexibility because she immediately pivots to plan C, which is cooking without a plan.
Oh boy.
She rates her fridge. She walks through what she describes as a sea of dogs in her
A
house.
sea of dogs, yeah.
And she decides to just throw whatever she can find into a pot. And she uses the specific English idiom, wing it,
Right.
which I absolutely love because, I don't know if you knew this, but winging it has a really rich historical origin.
I know it's not about growing wings.
Yeah, no wings involved. It actually comes from the theater. So back in the day when 19th century stage actors forgot their lines, or if an understudy was just thrown on stage without rehearsal, they would literally stand in the wings, the hidden areas just off stage,
Oh, I see.
and they would hastily figure out what they were going to do before stepping into the lights and entirely improvising the scene.
Oh, wow. So it is performance without a safety net.
Exactly.
You were relying entirely on fluid intelligence rather than a prepared script.
Oh,
And Mary's improvised kitchen performance perfectly reflects that theatrical desperation.
Oh, it is a wild improvisation. Let's look at the ingredients she pulls together for this soup.
It's quite a list.
She grabs a Vidalia onion, garlic, carrots, a carton of salt-free beef broth, and 2 frozen breakfast hash browns.
Hash browns and soup.
Right. But the absolute centerpiece of this chaos is that she is simultaneously cooking beef liver for her dog.
As one does.
Naturally. And she takes the leftover flour that she used to coat the raw dog liver, and she uses it to thicken her soup for human consumption.
I mean, that specific detail right there perfectly illustrates the psychology of resource scarcity under pressure.
How so?
Well, the source notes her use of the old proverb, waste not, want not.
Right.
When the human brain feels cornered and resources feel artificially scarce, because remember, she absolutely refuses to fail at dinner a third time, it shifts its entire valuation system.
Okay, that makes sense.
So something like liver-soaked flour, which would normally be discarded without a second thought.
Thrown straight in the trash.
Right. It suddenly possesses this immense utility as a thickening agent.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the source material connects this frantic, desperate American wing-it meal directly back to that cultural philosophy we mentioned earlier, the philosophy of Tom Jab Chai in Thailand.
Right. The mixed vegetable stew.
Yes. Tom Jab Chai translates roughly to exactly that, a mixed vegetable stew. But it wasn't born out of luxury. It is basically a historical masterclass in zero waste management.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So after major Thai Chinese religious festivals, families would be left with massive amounts of random vegetables and meats from their offerings.
Like what kind of things?
Maybe some roast duck, some pork belly, lots of cabbage. And instead of letting anything spoil, they threw it all into a massive pot and just boiled it down until the flavors melded into this incredibly rich, complex stew.
Wow. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals a deeply unifying truth about human nature.
How do you mean?
Well, the surface details between the two hemispheres couldn't be more different, right? On one side of the world, you have an American woman using frozen hash browns and dog liver flour to salvage a Tuesday night dinner.
Yeah, true.
On the other side, you have generations of Thai families preserving sacred festival offerings, but the underlying survival software driving both of those actions. It's identical.
Oh, I love that.
Right. Human beings possess this inherent cross-cultural instinct to find order in chaos. By just throwing all our disparate, broken pieces into a single pot and creating something entirely new.
And her chaotic American Tom Jab Chai actually works. The source reveals she later looked up the random ingredients she threw together, and she had accidentally reverse engineered a real internet-verified recipe.
Wait, really? What was it?
It's known as unstuffed cabbage roll soup.
No way. That is a phenomenal victory over her own working memory and the algorithmic failures of her day.
It really feels like the perfect triumphant conclusion, doesn't it?
It does.
But the source material warns us that the real catastrophe hasn't even happened yet.
Oh no.
Yeah, the soup is finished, it's steaming in a bowl. Mary goes to stand up from her chair. Her foot slips. She completely loses her balance, and her elbow violently slams into the kitchen counter.
Oh, you can see it coming.
The bowl of hard-earned improvised soup goes flying.
The language she uses to describe this exact moment is incredibly deliberate. She doesn't just say the bowl dropped. She writes that it took a nosedive,
A nosedive.
which is strictly an aviation term.
Yeah.
And it carries immense psychological weight. A nosedive describes the terrifying scenario where an airplane points directly at the earth.
Gravity takes absolute control.
Exactly, and the pilot just sits in the cockpit, totally helpless. The linguistics perfectly capture the emotional devastation of watching your labor of love violently destroy itself while you are entirely powerless to stop it.
And as this bowl is in midair, actively plunging toward the floor, she registers her immediate internal thought. She thinks to herself, getting old is so exciting.
It's sarcasm.
Yes. I want to pause on the neuroscience of that sarcasm because it's a brilliant defense mechanism.
Oh, absolutely.
When you experience a sudden shock or a physical failure, like dropping your dinner, your brain's amygdala instantly lights up. That's your primitive fear and emotion center demanding that you panic or scream.
Right, fight or flight.
Exactly. But by actively constructing a sarcastic joke, she forces her brain to shift its electrical activity away from the amygdala and redirect it to the prefrontal cortex, which handles logic, language, and problem solving.
It is an incredible evolutionary trick. I mean, by deploying complex humor in the span of a millisecond, she is literally forcing her nervous system to calm down.
Ow.
Because you cannot be fully consumed by blind rage if your prefrontal cortex is busy constructing a clever linguistic paradox. It creates immediate psychological distance from the pain.
So she survives the emotional impact, but she still has a physical disaster covering her kitchen floor.
A literal mess.
Yeah, she manages to save about 3/4 of the soup in the bowl, but the rest is a total loss. She mentions her sea of dogs, and her immediate instinct is the easiest cleanup method on earth. Let the dogs into the kitchen to act as biological vacuum cleaner.
Which is so tempting.
Right, but she stops herself because her modern scientific knowledge overrides her convenience instinct.
Right, because of the Vidalia onions she chopped up earlier.
Exactly. She knows that onions are highly toxic to dogs. And the mechanism behind it is actually terrifying. Onions contain a compound called N-propyl disulfide.
Right.
When a dog ingests it, that compound attaches to the oxygen molecules in their red blood cells, causing severe oxidative damage. It literally destroys the cells from the inside out.
Oh, wow. That is awful.
Yeah. So, armed with that veterinary science, she denies the dogs the spill. Instead, she scoops up the messy floor soup, she walks out her back door, and she throws it into the side yard for her chickens to eat.
Which, again, brings us to another beautiful reflection of rural Thai culture.
Oh, right!
Flinging food scraps out the back door to the chickens or the street dogs, that is a cornerstone of traditional agrarian life across the globe. It represents an ancient zero-waste ecosystem where human leftovers seamlessly transition into animal feed, basically closing the loop on consumption.
Yes, and what makes Mary's action so compelling is how she flawlessly blends that ancient nature-reliant ecosystem with modern scientific rigor.
Yeah, it's a great contrast.
She is practicing a very old-world rural lifestyle by feeding the chickens, but she is filtering that behavior through an acute understanding of canine hematology.
Right, she recognizes the chemical threat to her mammals, so she redirects the biological waste to her avian flock.
Exactly. It is a brilliant fusion of traditional wisdom and modern science, just working perfectly together to manage a crisis safely.
It really proves that we don't have to choose between traditional lifestyles and modern knowledge. They can actively inform each other.
Absolutely. So we finally reach the end of this exhausting diary entry. Mary sits down with her surviving 3/4 of a bowl of unstuffed cabbage roll soup. And because she runs a blog, this is the moment where she is supposed to take like a beautiful, perfectly lit overhead photo to share with her followers.
The quintessential food blogger moment.
Exactly. But the final twist is that she flat out refuses to photograph it.
Because the reality of the soup is aesthetically disastrous.
It looks awful. It's just this thick, brown, unphotogenic sludge. So instead of trying to manipulate the lighting or, use a filter, she goes online, she finds a highly professional, stylized photo of a completely different cabbage soup made by the television host Jenny Jones.
Oh my goodness.
And she posts that fake photo on her blog. But she doesn't try to deceive anyone. She openly captions it, telling her readers, "This is not my soup. My soup looks too awful to show you."
And that radical honesty is the perfect conclusion to her day. I mean, we currently live in an era dominated by highly curated, toxic digital perfection.
Completely.
Social media exerts immense pressure to make sure our lives, our failures, and our meals look flawlessly aesthetic. By using a stock photo but openly admitting the deception, Mary is actively rejecting the performative demands of the internet.
Right. She's saying, "I survived, but it wasn't pretty."
Exactly. She's acknowledging that she survived a deeply chaotic process. The food tastes fine, but she refuses to pretend that survival looks like a magazine cover.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? If we look back at this ridiculous cascading journey, from the algorithm failing to understand her hunger, to the supermarket hacking her working memory,
The forehead snapping.
smacking her forehead, cooking dog liver flour soup, and finally analyzing the neuroscience of dropping it on the floor.
It's a lot for one Tuesday.
It really is. The ultimate takeaway is a masterclass in emotional resilience. It shows us that whether you are winging it in a messy American kitchen or making Tom Jap chai on the other side of the planet, our mistakes aren't just annoyances. They are the essential mechanisms that force us to flex our survival instincts.
And this raises an important question, actually. One that the source material kind of leaves lingering just beneath the surface.
What's that?
Well, in our highly connected world, we are obsessed with downloading apps and building technologies specifically designed to eliminate all friction, all mistakes, and all inconvenience from our daily routines.
Right. We want it fast and easy.
But by demanding a life of perfect, frictionless convenience, are we accidentally deleting the only opportunities we have left to practice our creativity?
Oh, wow.
Are we eroding our emotional resilience because we just no longer have to navigate the messy, unexpected failures that actually force us to grow?
I mean, if the app never forgets the dressing, you never discover the resilience it takes to build something entirely new out of the wreckage. We actually need the friction to remember what we are capable of.
Absolutely.
So the next time a tiny inconvenience starts a domino effect of chaos in your day, maybe don't view it as a disaster. Treat it like an invitation to see what kind of weird, wonderful soup you can make out of the mess. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.